Well, you can have one of these.
No, those are yours.
They're for me.
They're just gonna have to listen to me or something.
That's fine.
Are you live?
What should I put in the description? Your class sponsored by Woody Foundation.
Wheelchair yoga,
What's your phone?
sponsored by the Woody Foundation. Brought to you by the Impossible Dream Catamaran. And Dharma Yoga Studio.
It's the Impossible Dream, the Impossible Dream Catamaran.
I think it's both.
Impossible Dream Catamaran.
Do you like you're doing some work? One more.
"30 seconds and yoga starts, guys.
I can't
Thanks
find the
for
Impossible Dream
joining.
Catamaran. Just the Impossible Dream.
Just Impossible Dream Catamaran."
Okay.
Can you guys hear me? We're gonna get going.
I'm gonna have to do that.
Ready
And
to?
we'll claim shake a leg as well, right?
Yeah.
I can add all those titles after.
Okay.
Ready?
You ready? Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Impossible Dream. I'm here with Natalie Morales, our yoga instructor, and we're here for chair yoga. We're practicing our social distancing today because, as we all know, there's a bit of a virus going around, and we decided to do this chair yoga class virtually. We have been doing it on the boat with friends of ours, and we've been going out regularly doing the chair yoga class, and everybody loved it so much that we decided we're going to do it virtually. So now you can do it at home. Take a break, get a chance to breathe and relax, and just adjust yourselves, and that way we're all going to get through it together. A little history on the boat. I don't know if you know or you don't, but this boat was built to be fully wheelchair accessible. It was built in 2002, completed in 2002. It was built by a gentleman named Mike Brown, and he was in a wheelchair through a sporting accident, and he had this boat custom built for himself to be wheelchair accessible. And so now we have acquired it. Deborah and Harry Horgan from Shake a Leg went to England, and they got the boat, and now we've been sailing it for 6 years and taking out people with disabilities. And so that's the mission of the Impossible Dream. And if you haven't seen the boat before, welcome, and you can look at our other videos on the Impossible Dream page to take a look at the boat and see what we do. So today is sponsored by us, the Impossible Dream, Dharma Yoga, the Woody Foundation, and Shake a Leg. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to Natalie, our yoga instructor, and we're going to have a beautiful session out here on this beautiful day on the bay.
Thank you. That was Captain Will Ray. Of course, if it weren't for Captain Will, we wouldn't have been able to get out here. So thank you so much. And also to the first mate, Paulina. So we are practicing social distancing, which of course is a responsible thing to do. And as a captain, you always are responsible, of course. But it's kind of sad that we're so few people on this beautiful boat. So thank you, Deborah Mellon, for letting us take your boat out again to have a little celebration, to enjoy movement and breathing and a little bit of visualization and meditation. Normally on this boat, we have many of our friends in wheelchairs, so it's an amazing vessel, and it's a one of a kind in the world, built from the keel up to be universally adaptive for our friends with unique abilities. So the way that we usually start this class is by drawing the focus inward. And when we have a view like this of Miami, it's kind of a toss-up. Well, do I want to close my eyes or do I want to keep my eyes open to see the view? Whatever you prefer, what I'm going to ask you to do is to bring your focus to the breath. And a lot of times we do that by noticing its rhythm. So if we take our hands and we spread out the fingers and we put them on the torso, we're going to be more able to really follow the movement that's required by the breath. And that's what I'm going to suggest that you do next. This is how we usually start the class. So we take the fingers apart so we're covering as much territory as possible with your eyes closed or not. Take your arms and touch them to the sides of your body as well. Maybe even the back, pressing into the back of your chair. And just notice how much of your body expands and deflates as you breathe. So this rhythm has been with you your whole life. So no one can tell you that you're not breathing properly. But most of us don't breathe consciously. So with the hands on the torso, notice what happens every time you breathe in. And notice what happens every time you breathe out. And just take a moment to notice the rhythm. So we're not forcing any kind of change right now. Just trying to commit to noticing that movement. So you're getting a little more aware of the depth of the breath, the quality of it. Notice that every inhale is an expansion and every exhale is a contraction. So if you don't feel your body moving as you breathe, change the way you're holding your hands. And let's take all several more breaths here in this position. Thank you, Captain. And now you can kind of exaggerate the breath a little bit more. So you're kind of exaggerating how much of the body opens as you breathe in. And maybe you're able to stretch the exhale a little bit longer. And if it helps you to make the breath more audible, then do that, because that's helpful too. So we add a little more physical movement, a little more contrast, and we add a little sound. And we'll try to stay like that, with that kind of focus for the next few breaths. As the people go by in jet skis. And believe it or not, what we're doing now is one of the hardest things to do, and that is to be pretty still. Not saying anything. And trying to remain focused on the breath. Here out on Biscayne Bay, we have a beautiful, very light breeze. We have the sound of the water lapping at the boat. And now we're going to add a little bit of movement, but not much else is going to change. We're going to start with the arms down, and with that same deep breath, stretch your arms out in front of you as straight as you can, and as you exhale, bring the arms down. It's not a complicated move. It doesn't even matter if both arms straighten. It doesn't matter how high they go. It doesn't matter if they go at all, actually. But as you're doing the move, it's matching the breath. And if you can lift the arms a little bit higher now, just go ahead and do that. Trying to keep them as equally straight and as equally high as possible. And let's do that a few more times. And every time you lift your arms, see if you can get that sensation that your spine is lengthening. So visualize it happening. And visualize the lungs stretching open to the sides, and visualize the back of the body opening too. So far, we're just keeping in touch with the breath, trying to be precise about moving to its rhythm. Let's do 5 more. And also we're using our powers of visualization. So as you're doing this, see yourself doing it. Imagine yourself doing it. So you're drawing your focus away from anything else. Okay, then one more. We're going to stretch the arms up. And then we're going to bring the arms down. So we're going to keep on going with the rhythm of the breath. This time it's just going to be the shoulders. So as you inhale, let the shoulders lift up. Kind of exaggerate. And as you exhale, let the shoulders drop. So keep on doing that. Inhale, shoulders lift. And exhale, shoulders drop. So do that a couple more times. You know, if your wheels are in the way and the arms can't drop, just hold them out to the side like I'm doing. If you have space at your sides, then do that. And of course, as we're lifting the shoulders and dropping them, it's not just the shoulders, it's the arms. I mean, if you have them. Let's do 3 more. So let the breath get a little more percussive. Deep breath in through the nose, let it out through the mouth. Twice more. And if Mary were here with us, we could hear her gold bangles jangling. And then one more time. And now we're just going to shake the hands out, shake the fingers out, the wrists out, the elbows, and just keep on moving the arms like that. A little bit faster. And now we're going to bring the hands to stillness and we're going to let them rest in the lap. And that's the assignment, just to be still and just to notice. Any tingling in the fingers, Captain? Good.
Yes.
He's alive, which is important for this mission. So now let's kind of move the shoulders again. So as you inhale, lift the shoulders up like before, but this time let's make a circle. As you exhale, bring the shoulders back and down. Okay, and I don't want to overly control you. So this is the assignment. You're bringing the shoulders forward and up and back. So you're making some circles. And exaggerate the movement, like you're really celebrating the fact that this shoulder is such a mobile joint. Really make big circles. And let your rib cage move too. So we're not just isolating it to the shoulders. We're letting the ribs move. And then whichever way you're going, now go the opposite way. And you'll let your rib cage move a little bit too. And keep your breath noticeable to you. Of course, like I mentioned before, you've all been breathing well enough to make it here today. So we're not going to overly control you on the breath, but it makes sense to let it stay audible. Now we're going to bring the shoulders down. Okay, now. You ready for the next move, Captain?
Ready, aye.
Okay, good. So we're going to let the arms relax at the sides. And if you want to make it a little more intense, you're going to hold on with your hands if you can. So you hold on to the sides of your chair, the wheels of your chair, the seat of your chair, whatever you got. Rob, careful now. Shoulders draw down. Okay, so this is what's going to make it more sensational, what's going to give us more feeling and stretching in the sides of the neck. If we draw the shoulders down, and if you can use your arms to help do that, you can. So we take a deep breath in to start. And then as you exhale, you just let your head go to one side. Just pick a side. Doesn't matter which side you start with, of course. And then inhale, bring your head back to the center. And then exhale the other way. So it's a simple move. Now for those of us who use our legs, we'll say, okay, make your feet still, activate the muscles in your legs, keep your lower body actively stationary. But a lot of us that do these classes together don't use the legs. So it's really about trying to create a little lightness in the torso, breathing a little more deeply. So you're kind of imagining yourself floating, feeling a little more weightless, which is totally appropriate because we're in a boat and we do feel more weightless in a boat, floating stably at a safe social distance. And now we're going to bring the head back to neutral. Okay, same thing, but we're going to add the torso if you can. So the arms can come out to the sides. So however you have the arms positioned, like however they land, make them as straight as you can and reach out through the fingers as if you're trying to touch something, as if you're trying to lengthen the arms. And then contrast that by just letting the arms relax. Nothing. And then do that again. Activate the arms, activate the muscles, all the muscles you can think of. And then relax them. So we're doing this to get a sense of contrast. And then do that again. Stretch the arms out, activate all those muscles. Okay, so we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to start from here. Exhale, your head goes to one side, but you bow open one side of the ribs, you lift the opposite elbow. And then as you inhale, you come back to the center. Okay, that's the assignment. Exhale. So as I do this in this director's chair, I get the feeling that, my freedom of movement is being curtailed by these arms here. It's a good reminder that a lot of our friends have wheels that come up pretty high. And although it's a great vehicle for transportation, of course, everything has its parameters. So we're going to keep on going and try to get that sense that you're expanding one side of the ribs as you compress the other. So one side squeezes in as the other side stretches open. And I don't want to say lean to the side because that makes it sound like you're lifting one sitting bone, but really we're trying to remain stationary in the lower body. Looking good, Captain. It's true. Okay, let's do a few more to each side. And David Collins is counting, so let's be precise. Okay, one more. And now we're going to come back to neutral, and we're just going to sit up nice and tall, and we're just going to be still. So we contrast movement with stillness. All the while, we're just coming back to the breath. So nice and fresh. This air is still free. And then the next move we're going to do is going to involve a twist. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, the lower body is going to remain still. For those of you who use your legs, you're going to keep your lower body willfully still, right? And for our friends in wheelchairs, the lower body will remain still, right? We're going to move the torso. We're going to be using the muscles in the core of the body. We're going to be using the arms. We're going to be using the head, the neck, and the eyes too, right? So we're going to take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, turn to one side. So use it all, as much as you can. Just hold on for a moment. And then you inhale, you come back to the center. And then as you exhale, you turn the other way. So we're just figuring out a way to brace ourselves by using the hands and the arms without making any jarring moves, without forcing the breath in any one way. The hard part is really staying true to the breath's rhythm and staying focused on the task at hand. So now let's turn to one side and let's stay there. So we're using the hands, the arms, however we can to hold the upper body in place. You're turning the head, using the neck, and you're focusing the eyes on something. And wherever your eyes land, you just pick a point and just keep them there. And that too is a form of control, self-control. And once you're there, take a few deep breaths. Feel how the torso expands. So when we're in a twist, we're even more keenly aware of how much movement the breath requires and how much it causes. Try to breathe into the back of the body, the back of the lungs, and the back of the ribs. Make another deep breath in. And then exhale, release. Slowly turn back around to face forward. And then just hang out facing forward here for a moment. Ready for the other side, Captain?
Ready, aye.
Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you turn the other way. Okay, there's no rush. We're going to hang out like this for a moment. No forcing. And when you get into that twist finally, you turn your head, you turn your eyes, you focus your eyes on something. And then you kind of use your arms to hold your lower body, your upper body in place. And you feel how much movement the breath requires. And you try to consciously send the breath into the back of the lungs. We have a beautiful city, close up and from afar. Take 2 more breaths here. Take another deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you turn slowly, or as you inhale, whatever. Don't let me micromanage you. You just come back. What I want to encourage you to do is just to slow it down by focusing on the breath. So once you get into that rhythm of these kinetic moves that we're doing with the breath, rather than listen to my suggestion as your yoga guide, what's really more important is that you notice how your body needs to combine the breath with movement, or combine the movement with breath, and then you go with what your research shows you, what your research tells you. Right? So let's do a few more moves. Head and neck again. This time we're going to lift the head and lower the head. Right? So you sit up nice and tall. Stretch open the back of the ribs. Now most of us are oriented toward the front, or we define the front as where our eyes are aimed, usually where our face is aimed. Right? So what we want to try to do is also just acknowledge our true capacity in 3 dimensions. So not to ignore the sides, not to ignore the back. Right? So this is going to be about the head and neck. So make sure everything else is comfortable. And on your next inhale, you're going to let your head lift, you're going to let your eyes lift, you're going to let your chin lift. You're going to stretch the front of the neck. And then as you exhale, you bring your head down. Okay, no fast moves, no forcing. No need to bounce the head around. And let's do that again. So inhale, lift the head up. And exhale, bring the head down. So go back and forth a few times more. And by the way, this is one of the things that they show you in the airline videos that you can do in your seat. Let's do a few more. Captain, how many feet is that mast?
74 and a half.
Above?
Above the water.
Above the water, 74 and a half feet. Pretty nice. 2 more. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, lower the head. And last one, inhale, lift the head. And exhale, lower the head. And then we're going to lift the head up into neutral. Just see how it feels to be still. Now we're going to bring that move into play a little bit later, of course. But what we're going to do now is we're going to move the arms a little bit more. So we're going to bring the hands together. So a lot of our friends don't have 2 hands or 2 arms or any arms. If Patrick Nordstrom is watching this. So bring your hands together. Interlace your fingers if you got them, if you can. Or you take one hand and hold on to it with the other. Or you do it in your imagination. And if you do it in your imagination, you get full credit. In fact, it's harder. So however you have your hands, you bring them in front of your chest. And you squeeze with your fingers so that you're creating a little resistance in your arms. So you're engaging the muscles in the hands and the forearms, in the upper arms, biceps, triceps, even the chest and upper back. Now the shoulders might have a tendency to lift, so I'm going to suggest that you try to bring them down as much as you can. And here's where we're going to go with the breath. So as you make your next inhale, you're going to stretch your arms out in front of you and make them straight as you can. Nice. And as you exhale, you bend the arms. So make it slow. We're creating resistance. So imagine you are moving your arms through something much thicker than air, much thicker than this fresh air, much thicker than this fresh, salty water. Keep on going. And if you want to turn your palms out, you do that. If you want to get a stretch in your fingers and in your wrists, whatever is reasonable. And if you want, you can add a lifting of the arms. So however high they go, doesn't matter. However straight they go, doesn't matter. Make a combination. So anyway, in other words, you're doing it in your own way. And more than any other yoga class, this chair yoga class a lot of times starts to resemble a slow motion dance, the kind of freestyle dance that everybody does in their own way. And it's a really beautiful thing to unfold, to watch unfold. And I'm not talking just about John Beauregard as a dancer or Alexis, but everybody figures out their own way to move. So today it's just me and the captain doing the moves. So you don't get to see the full range of expression and creativity and uniqueness that is revealed when we have our friends with us. So now we're going to bring the arms out in front of us, straight as possible. Okay, and you hold your hand. If you had your fingers interlace them the other way. If you are holding one hand with the other and you want to switch, you do that. So we're going to try to keep the arms now as parallel to the ground as possible. And those of you who use your legs, you might shift your hips a little bit forward, because we're going to use a little space behind us, right? So as we make the next move, try to keep your arms parallel to the ground, right? Take a nice deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you're going to drop the chin, but now you're going to round the back. So your chest caves in, your belly button moves back. And then as you inhale, you come back into neutral. And keep on doing that, but trying to keep the arms parallel to the ground. Round the back. And inhale, come back to upright. So keep on going with that. And it takes some proprioception, because as you are rounding and stretching the spine into neutral again, as you're going back and forth between those two moves, we're trying to keep the arms parallel to the floor, to the ground, to the deck, pardon me. And do that 5 times more. So contract the front of the body as you exhale. Stretch the front of the body into neutral as you inhale. So go back and forth like that. Keeping in mind, of course, that I'm just making suggestions. So if you're doing it in your own unique way, totally fine. What's important is that we're all in this together. Two more. And now let's come into neutral. And then we're going to bring the hands down, the arms down, and we're going to take a few deep breaths. And here's where we can appreciate this beautiful scenery again. A lot of times at this point we'd say close the eyes and draw the focus in, but come on, with this view. Why? Thanks, Deborah. So we're going to keep going with this idea of building one move on another. So this next one, we're going to turn the upper body to the
Starboard side.
turn the upper body to the starboard side, everybody. Take your hands, hold on to whatever you can hold on to. So we are keeping the lower body still. So we're trying to twist from, let's say, like the waistline up, using the muscles of the core to do that, holding steady with the arms without clinching too hard. We're going to maintain that, and then we're going to lift and lower the head, and we're going to round the back, okay? So adding things together. So as you inhale, you lift up the head, shoulders back, and then as you exhale, you bring the head down. You keep that twist, but you round the back, belly button in, chin toward the chest. And keep on doing that. So what we're trying to do is really work with the contrast. The contrast, which is the basis of the breath itself, or the complements, the balanced out complements of the breath. Inhale, exhale, rise and fall, extend or lengthen, and contract. And the hard part is just staying focused on the breath and really being true to its rhythm. So we're using the breath and the movement as a technique to calm the mind. Now we're going to keep this twist. We're going to keep holding on with the arm that's in the front. And then we're going to take the other arm and we're going to lift it, bend it, and put the hand like on the side of the head, okay? So we're going to keep the upper body turned. We're going to take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, you just kind of bow open one side of your body. Keep holding on with your hand, and just find a way to stretch that elbow toward the sky. So Captain, let's do the other opposite. There you go. So Captain, try holding on with that left hand to the right armrest. There you go. Take a few deep breaths here. And if you just hold a pose and breathe deeply into it, the sensation will change. Sometimes we have to be patient to get the stretch to be revealed. And as the stretch and the sensation are revealed, so are our asymmetries. Take 2 more breaths here. And then in your own intelligent way, you're going to rise up into neutral. And we're not in a rush. We're going to uncoil. We're going to face forward. We're going to hang out for a moment and just see how it feels to have one side stretched out, or strengthened a little more than the other. And just try to find a little stillness. A few deep breaths. Ready for the other side, Captain?
I'm ready.
Take a deep breath in. This time we're going to turn to port. So go for it. Turn the upper body. Hold on with your hands. Try to find that sweet spot that's like right at the balance point between using the muscular effort to hold yourself in place, but not gripping so hard that you're, overdoing it. Okay. So take a deep breath in. Lift your heart. lift your eyes a little toward the sky. And then as you exhale, round the back. So right away, this side feels different than the other. It's normal, quite popular to have one side different from the other. So as you go back and forth with the breath, you might find that you need to change your hand position. You might need to shift a little bit, but be as precise about moving to the breath's rhythm as you were on the other side. And out here on the impossible dream, every view is inspiring, every breath. Let's do 3 more. Two more. Make as much contrast between those moves as you can, arching and rounding. And then, here's where we're going to change it. Lower body stays just like it was, just like it is. Upper body remains like that. So it's, in this case, it's the left hand. It's reaching over to the other side. Really our right hand. I'm so used to mirroring, you know how it is. So, take the other hand, the one that's farther away. Reach up, bend it, put the hand behind the head. This side will come out different. Take another deep breath in. And then as you exhale, start to lean to the side. So it takes a while for the stretch to kind of seep in. And here's where you could make those little micro movements, little shifts and changes. Maybe they're so slight that you're the only one that notices that you're doing them. So at any moment, if your experience and your sensation tells you to change it, you change it. 3 more breaths. And then use your own innate intelligence, all your learning, your experience, your self-control. Slowly rise up into neutral. And then we're going to come back to the center. And now we're going to pause again in neutral. Just face forward. Adjust whatever you need to adjust. Take a few deep breaths. And as you notice your breath right now, just to yourself, establish some kind of rhythm of the breath. So you establish a rhythm like you're singing a song to yourself. And really you are with your breath. And maintaining that consistent rhythm, count how long your inhales are and how long your exhales are. No judgment, just count. No forcing. And ask yourself, is the inhale longer than the exhale? Or is it the other way around? Just notice. It's not a quiz. And whatever you notice about the breath, now we're working toward samavriti, which means something like equal turning. So sama meaning same. And by that I mean, if one or the other is longer, you try to shorten it a little bit. And whichever was shorter, you try to lengthen it a little bit. So it comes both on the inhale, the adjustment is made both on the inhale and the exhale without forcing. If at any time this breathing suggestion makes you feel shorter breath, then that is totally not cool. It's not what we want. We're here to celebrate the joy of movement and the fresh air of Miami. One little helicopter. Ready for the next move, Captain?
I'm ready.
Cool.
Great.
Okay, good. All right. So as we were saying, obviously, it's a bummer that all our friends in chairs can't be here. And of course, when we're doing wheelchair yoga, we're doing a lot of moves for the upper body, But now we're going to try to get some, add to the circulation in the lower body, namely the thighs, which are close, right? So always, for every move that we do, I should have said this earlier, forgive me. I should have said, you don't have to do anything. These are just suggestions. I did say that you can always do it in your imagination, right? I said that because it's true and you get full credit. Okay, that's important to remember, right? So now we're going to take the hands and we're going to put them on the thighs and we're going to press down with the hands from the hips toward the knees. Is the cops? Hey, we're all far enough apart, aren't we?
Those two boats aren't practicing.
They're not. But we have a responsible captain who's guiding us, responsible first mate. Thank you, guys. We're just going to keep on going. Okay, so this is move number 1. Well, move number 1 is not doing it at all. Move number 2, this one. Next one, and this is the one that Woody always points out, gives him a little more sensation, and that is by leaning forward with the forearms on the legs and then rocking from side to side. And that way you kind of press down by making this rocking action with your arms. And that works nicely, especially if you don't have like a lot of detailed control of the fingers and the hands, right? And you can also kind of use your body weight, of course, by leaning forward. And anything that moves the torso around a little bit and gets the core of the body to move, it's really good for lymphatic drainage, of course. We go from side to side. Now, if that's not enough, here's the next one. You take your hands into fists and you kind of bounce them on the thighs. And we don't want to do this too hard. What we're trying to do is, to stimulate the circulation more on the surface of the skin. And the more percussive we get, of course, the more deeply we're going to penetrate the layers of muscle. But as Arturo always likes to point out, if you're on blood thinners, you don't want to be punching yourself. Right? Okay, now we're going to take the fingers and we're going to put them on the knees, and with the fingertips we're going to massage around the knees. So below the kneecaps, around the kneecaps, above them. I hope Ken Mendelsohn is with us as well today, and Lee Taylor, and Mitch. And June. And Macaulay said he was going to tune in, right? Yeah, he did. So, since Macaulay is an artist and he's always, using the hands to create his work, let's do one for Macaulay, for all the artists out there, right? We're going to take the fingers, we're going to spread them out, and we're going to bring the fingertips together. So this is one that Robert Howell also liked too. Okay, so fingertips are going to spread out as far away from each other as possible. And again, create a little resistance. So you're kind of cupping the center of your palms away from each other for the moment, drawing the elbows down. Okay, I think we're good, huh?
Good.
Okay, good. Whew. All right, now. So, we're going to bring the fingers together, bring the rims of the palms together, and spread the fingers apart. Okay, but press hard with your hands into each other. So you're feeling it in the upper arms, in the chest, in the upper back. Okay. Now, turn the fingers so that they're facing forward. Fingertips facing forward, fingertips aiming down as much as you can, and then back and forth. So as you do this, you might need to change the position of your forearms a little bit. And then establish a breathing rhythm that matches what you're doing with your hands. So you decide, in other words. No micromanaging from us. So keep doing that a few times more. Keep your fingers as spread apart as you can. And then we're going to take the hands and we're going to shake them out. So
Good one. I like this one.
it's a good one, right? Right, for your wrists. Right. So let's do one of the favorites of Sabrina Cohen, okay? And it's going to involve using the arms, and it's going to involve those same options as we had when we did this one, where we had the fingers interlaced, or we were holding one hand with the other, right? So same kind of thing, right? So you're going to bring the hands together however you can. You're going to lift up the elbows, and you're going to try to bring your elbows toward each other. So your forearms together as much as you can, okay? And you're bringing your fingers together as much as you can. Now start to make circles with your hands. Oh, this is one that Elaine Strickland does a lot in her Gentle Therapeutics yoga. So make the circles, and you'll notice you have lots of options about the circle. Just try to keep your palms pressed together and try to keep your elbows touching as much as you can. Now, whichever direction you're going, go the other way. Whether your fingers are interlaced or whether you're holding on with one hand to the other. So we're using the muscles in the chest. And then we're going to bring the arms down, and we're going to relax them. Relax the shoulders. Right. So this next one we're going to do involves a little visualization, right? So for those of you who use your legs, fine. You could do it with your legs. Fine, we're not going to discriminate. Those of you who aren't going to do it with your legs, you're going to do it with the imagination. Now here's the thing. We can talk all day about how to make the body stronger, how to stretch the body, how to, test the body, how to exercise, but very few of us are really talking about doing the same kind of thing with the mind, like keeping the mind trained or toned. But since so many of us are so glued to our cell phones or smartphones, it's more easy now to talk about meditation than ever because more people are figuring it out on their own. Wow, I wish I could stop being so connected all the time. So here we are, kind of being forced to disconnect a little bit. It's kind of interesting that the whole world is in this together. So we're going to do the next move. It might be physical for those of you who are going to use the legs, but if you are using the legs or not, it's going to be a lot about what's happening in your imagination, your controlled imagination. So I'm going to ask you to do this visually, right? So you're going to imagine yourself sitting with your feet just barely in the water. Okay, and when it comes to these visualization exercises, no one can really tell from the outside if you're really doing it or if you're just sitting there. So try. And use your imagination so you're creating the image in great detail. The sensation of your feet dangling. Your ankles and your shins are so relaxed, your calves are so relaxed that your feet are moving in the water with the waves. The temperature of the water. Visualize yourself sitting there with your feet dangling in the water. And feel the sun on your skin, the salty air on your skin. And how sometimes you catch a few droplets of water on the legs, the arms, the face, elsewhere. And just take a moment to really let that image sink into your imagination. Try to control it. Involve as much detail as you can. And now in your imagination, you're going to start to move the toes in the water. And if you have toes that you can move, go ahead and move them. But keep your mind focused on the assignment. Deep breaths, feet dangling in the water, toes moving, And then your feet start moving. If you have legs and you're going to use them, float your feet a little bit off the ground and start to point and flex them and make circles. And everybody do that in the imagination, wiggling the toes around, moving the ankles. And as you're doing this, whether it's physical or whether it's in the imagination, notice the coordinated action of the shins and in the calves. And then we're going to lean forward, everybody, and we're going to let our fingertips touch the water. Now the water is coming all the way up to the knees, so just getting the fingertips just beyond the knees and start to move your fingers in the water. And notice how it makes you thirsty to imagine. Imagine the sound of the water as well. The breeze on the skin, the sun on the skin, the salt on the skin. And now we're going to bring the legs to stationary. Let the feet dangle in the water again. And now imagine that you're going to just get up and casually stroll across the surface of the water, kind of in a march. So one leg lifts, you keep it bent, and then you press your foot down through the water just a few inches below its surface, and then the other leg. So either you're doing this physically with your legs, or you're doing it in your imagination with your legs. And everybody will do it in a different way. But just promise that if you're not doing it physically, you're doing it in the imagination. And then we're going to let the legs relax. And now we've found, conveniently, a little dinghy to float in. Each of us separate and socially distanced appropriately. And we're going to lay back. And we're going to bring our arms up, and we're just going to lay back in that dinghy. Maybe put the hands behind the head and just feel the sun on the face. And some of you might even want to start swimming a little. So let's start doing the backstroke. And when we do moves like this, when we have all our friends with us in the chairs, that's when the dance gets very unique. Some of you might like to do the breaststroke. And make sure as you're moving your arms, please, that you have your fingers together. Otherwise, you're not going to go very far. Just saying. Some of you want to do the American crawl, which I believe is also called the Australian crawl. And every move that you do kind of gives you a chance to stretch your body. So we do our chair yoga classes for people in wheelchairs, for anyone who wants to do gentle stretches, gentle moves, who wants to experience deep breathing, meditation. And it's really appropriate for a lot of people. Sometimes we have athletes that have had injuries and they want to recuperate, and be with some like-minded people. So you swim in your own way. And now we float. And you visualize yourself however you want to be, wherever you want to be. But make it good. Use your imagination to its greatest capacity, so that the enjoyment isn't body bound. It's experiential in terms of the richness of the imagination. We're all in this together. So the next thing we're going to do is our seated Sun Salutation. So those of you who do yoga on a mat and you use your legs and you can walk freely around, you know that there's different kinds of Sun Salutations that we can do. When we're in chairs, we make it a lot about moving the spine and, of course, about following the breath. And we finished our last class like this. We don't always, but we'll do it again because it's fun. And whenever we have a group larger than one, we have to, or we should, account for everyone's unique abilities, right? So that's why we have a lot of options. And it's going to be a combination of a lot of moves that we did already today. So it's going to be lifting and lowering the head. It's going to be arching the back and rounding the back, and then we're going to also involve lifting a leg. So when it comes to lifting a leg, some of you will do it in the imagination, of course. The pros will do it in the imagination. Otherwise, you just float the foot a little bit off the ground, maybe lift it a little higher, or even hold on with your hands to the leg. Or some people hold on to their clothing, or some people even have a strap or a belt. And this way we simulate that lunge that we know from the regular Sun Salutation. So, you ready, Captain?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. Let's go. So, sweep the arms up. Take a deep breath in. Arch the back. Look up toward the mast. And then as you exhale, round the back, hands on the thighs, belly button in, curl it all in and drop the head. Now we're going to simulate that lunge. So pick a leg, and as you inhale, bring that thigh in toward your chest, however you can do it. And then as you exhale, you bring your foot down. So there's no judgment. We do the other side. Ready for it to be different. Inhale, reaching up, arching back. Exhale, rounding. Really try to make that contrast. Here comes the other leg, whichever one it is. Inhale, that thigh comes in. We make it a little arch. We lift the heart, we lift the face. And then on the exhale, we bring the foot down. And we'll just keep on doing that. Starting again by sweeping the arms forward and up, arching back. And then exhale, rounding the back, belly button in. And then inhale, bring that thigh in close. Bring your abdomen forward, your shoulders back. And then exhale, put the foot down. Here comes the other side. Inhale, reach up. We start with the arch. Exhale, round. Other leg. Inhale, bring the thigh in, shoulders back, heart lifting. And exhale, foot comes down. Let's do 100 more.
200.
Okay, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Just do it your own way. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. moving the spine. How lucky we are. Let's do one more each side. And then we'll finish with the arms. Reach forward, reach up, we'll arch back. And then we'll come into neutral. And bring the hands to the heart. Okay, so now we're approaching the last movement adventure that we're going to share together. And we always end with, or we always seal the class with the exercise of gratitude. So take a moment to bring the hands to the heart, not just to the, heart beating there, the organ in the center of the chest, but the metaphorical heart associated with patience, tolerance, compassion. And of course, love and affection. And as you have your hands on the heart, in whatever gesture you've chosen, acknowledge something or someone that you're grateful for. Acknowledge that person, that thing, that place. Okay, now, as if you're gathering that gratitude, we're going to make a few moves with the arms. So as you inhale, you reach out, you reach up like you're gathering the gratitude, and as you exhale, you bring it back to the heart. So this gesture also, you do in your own way, your own moves. Collecting the gratitude, the patience, the tolerance, compassion. Do that a few times as if you're scooping up that gratitude. All the while, keep that person or that thing in mind that you're grateful for. And then the next time we bring the hands to the heart, we'll just keep them here. Acknowledge that person or that thing you're grateful for. Now, when we're together in the class, we always give everyone the opportunity to say out loud what they're grateful for. And I'll say, thank you for coming to this class. Thank you, Deborah, for letting us be on your boat today. This beautiful, impossible dream. Thank you to Shake a Leg for letting the impossible dream dock there and for making so many collaborative adventures with the boat. Thank you, Captain Will. Thank you, First Mate Paulina. Thank you, Dharma Studio. Thank you, the Woody Foundation, for sponsoring this class. Thank you so much for everything that you do in this town. With sincere gratitude. Now it's time to just notice how beautiful this city is out on the water.